dismissed the suggestion, reminding the Congress of hurling distasteful personal barbs like Maut ka Saudakar, Khoon ki Dalali and so on at Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So is the BJP's explanation a cogent one? That is the question we're asking. Union Minister Nirmala Sitharaman this evening, thank you ma'am for joining me on the show. The Prime Minister's raincoat barb has upset the opposition. They're upset, they say they want an apology for insulting a former Prime Minister. Your response?
Well, I think the Prime Minister, in giving a reply to the presidential address, has in a speech raised a lot of issues, has given references to documents and books which were published, and spoke about a lot of things. But essentially, if the debate is going to be only centered on this remark, so-called raincoat related remark, I want to underline the fact, without a sense of tit for tat here, I want to underline the fact that well within democratic, parliamentary etiquette and so on, if a former Prime Minister now in the opposition, even as they were questioning us on action taken on black money, what have you done, is there a big bang step that you've taken and so on.
Yes.
Within a few days after the demonetization step is taken, calls it as an organized loot and legalized plunder. Doesn't that implicate the Prime Minister on a measure that is taken in public interest? And even while explaining that, in his address, he said very clearly, look, this is not something which I'm trying out for the first time. Mrs. Indira Gandhi was suggested it. Of course, she didn't choose to do it. Later on, the same matter came almost about 9 years later when the CPM, Jyotirmay Basu, also mentioned about demonetization. He quotes it from various books which have been published, which have remained unquestioned. And for a former Prime Minister who spent best part of his life looking at economic affairs,
sure,
and being part of decision making, to say it's an organized loot and a legalized plunder to a Prime Minister who for entire term that he was as Chief Minister in Gujarat and for the first 3 years, now near 3 years as Prime Minister, has run administration without a blemish.
Sure, but Madam Minister, the opposition says...
doesn't that cause a sense of outrage in us?
And we put that response to the opposition. And the opposition says that their barbs, and they say this is a significant difference, that their barbs came during the course of either rallies or press conferences. They weren't made in the August Houses of Parliament.
Excuse me, I'll interrupt you there. Former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh spoke in the House, in the Rajya Sabha, when this was said there. For a Prime Minister talking about today's Prime Minister, who for 3 years has given a completely contrasting administration, absolutely clean, not a whisper of corruption. And contrast that with the UP administration. And contrast it with his tenure as Chief Minister. To say that he is in the demonetization process, allowing an organized loot and a legalized plunder, isn't that insult enough? On the floor of the House.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
so
Rahul
you're saying
Shivshankar.
that, okay,
let's understand that it cannot always be from the Congress's yardstick. I will reiterate my point, which I did say in the afternoon to your,
correspondent colleague,
media
yes,
person who came to meet me.
Yeah.
Congress proved that they were bad in governance. They were no good in governance. The administration that they provided was not Sushasan.
Okay.
Now they are proving that they cannot be good even in opposition by being very, very negative.
Okay, how do you respond, ma'am, to Sitaram Yechury, who said that the Prime Minister's speech had nothing really to do with a response to the president's address, that it was a political speech and it was aimed perhaps at the UP elections, at Manipur or Goa or Uttarakhand or what have you?
He does that in his campaigns wherever he goes for the election. And in the House, clearly, having closely followed the debate which happened both in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha on the presidential address, the Prime Minister has come to the House. And wait a minute, he was going to come anyway. But what was the clamour? When is he coming? Tell us when is he coming? Tell us when exactly is he coming? And when he comes and speaks, you don't want to hear him. And you don't even have the courage of conviction to hear what he is going to say. But you already fault him. You already fault him with things which you have. You narrated the list of expletives that they've used against Prime Minister Modi.
They have,
and
indeed.
As Chief Minister Modi.
They have, indeed.
At that time, not an eyelid was blacked. Not one person exclaimed saying, what is this? What has this country come to? And today when he is giving them a reply well within the parliamentary decorum, it hurts. It hurts. Yes, it hurts. I understand. But you can't object to him replying to you. That's not a...
Okay, P. Chidambaram said that the Prime Minister deliberately came late, and that too only after all speakers had spoken, so that he could have the final word and turn the occasion into a campaign speech. That's what he said. He's been quoted in this newspaper, and the copy is right here with me. How would you respond to that charge?
But with due respect, let me tell you something. Definitely, will the Prime Minister not have the last word when he is responding to a debate? Is it necessary that the Prime Minister will have to sit through the entire debate in Lok Sabha, entire debate in the Rajya Sabha? He is obviously briefed by the Parliamentary Affairs Minister. He himself, as and when he is in his office, he also watches the television, doing other things simultaneously. And when he comes as a Prime Minister, and I thought that's what we also did in the opposition, we heard the Prime Minister anytime, and that was the final word for that debate. I didn't know of a parliamentary, I'm fairly new in the parliament, agreed, but I have studied the parliamentary processes and proceedings. I've never heard a debate continuing after the Prime Minister speaks. This is amazing. The Congress party doesn't know to introspect, doesn't know probably to accept defeat, and to be in the opposition as a responsible opposition and a constructive opposition. They're just looking for excuses, looking for again, an excuse on alibi to say, oh, you're wrong, we are right. I think the Congress party is old enough. It has leadership which is mature enough.
Yes.
They should introspect.
Okay. They've also said that till there is no apology, they will not allow this House to function. How do you view that? Because it's going to lead to perhaps, once again, a washout tomorrow.
It's a very sad situation where for everything the Prime Minister has to reply, and if they choose to not be convinced by any reply, he should apologize, and they will immediately also show what is happening outside. I want just the Congress party to look back at what kind of treatments they have offered. Right from Sitaram Kesari, who was locked up in a bathroom, right from P.V. Narasimha Rao, whose body after his death could not even pass by the Congress headquarters. These are very good ways of dealing with former prime ministers and former leaders of their own party.
But disruption is not new.
Let us also take the example of the Congress vice president. No, just a minute. Nothing which is not new can be out of this debate because it's not new.
Okay.
Let's also understand the way in which Congress's vice president tore in anger and threw into the dustbin an ordinance which was passed when the Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, was outside of the country on his official work. He didn't even wait for him to come back. That's anger, you know. That's, insulting your Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, That's not anything for you all to introspect, but what is happening here as a formal reply.
So no
and
apology.
If you have anything or objectionable, saying it's unparliamentary, question it.
Okay, question it.
We are just always upset with Prime Minister Modi.
Be constructive, question it, don't boycott, don't threaten, don't deliver ultimatums. That's the message that is coming out from government this evening. Thank you, Nirmala Sitharaman, for giving me this time on India Upfront. We leave it at that. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Tonight, popular CM versus rightful heir. Is the governor's choice the people's choice? Watch the debate on the News Hour at 9. Times Now, unbeaten.
I can just tell you one thing at this time. I feel that further militants have come into this area. It's started, its firing has again started.